Okay, well, it's time to get started. So let's kick it off. I'm Amber Winter. I'm the VP of Sales and Service at Web Courseworks.
And I am Matt Harpold. I'm the account manager at WebCourseWorks.
Yeah, so today we're gonna just kind of open up CourseStage and talk about the different tools in the LMS that you can use if you're trying to use the system for a virtual event. Um, Hopefully most of you, it looks like most of you are our clients using the system. So feel free, if you've already tried to use the system and something's not working or you have questions, just post those. This is like a live session for us to try and answer as many questions as we can for you guys. We're going to just go through a couple of slides to level set a couple kind of vocabulary and different activity types in CourseStage, and then I'll go live into the system and just break down and start editing a course that we've created that would be used to run a virtual event.
Absolutely. And as Amber mentioned, this is for you guys. Please feel free to ask questions as we go through. I'll be keeping an eye on all the questions that come in and make sure we stop and address those as we go through. We also have some time at the end for a Q&A for some more maybe detailed questions that don't apply directly to maybe what we're talking about at that moment. So
Awesome. Thanks, Matt, for watching those, and interrupt me at any time if something comes up.
will do.
All right, so I just covered this. We're going to show you in the system how to use CourseStage for a virtual event. We have two slides, one for Carnegie activities, one for Broadway activities. So it's the same slide with things just kind of crossed off on each of them. So both of them do have a couple different activity types. We'll be sure to cover those. And then, of course, like Matt said, ask questions at any time. So this is something that we talked about on our webinar last week, and you guys probably all know this. That's why you're here. There are quite a few advantages of using your LMS if you do need to run a virtual conference. Some of the biggest ones are the integrations already set up. Credit is a big deal for your conference, so being able to just easily get your evaluations and the credit out of the way. Then it's also in your transcript in the learning management system. And then marketing, you have a ton of tools in the system that you can use to market for engaging your sponsors, setting up an exhibit hall, which we'll show you today in the system as well. So I'm gonna go through some of these things really quickly because it's a recap of our webinar last week, but just want to talk about the three different types of events that you could do virtually. So the first one is something like we're doing now, a webinar. That's the easiest, least expensive route for hosting a virtual event. And we'll show you how you can run those through the LMS and what webinar tools we recommend. Kind of increasing that production value. There's a lot of virtual event platforms out there. We've worked with Matchbox Virtual. Now I'm blanking on all the other ones. There's a lot of vendors that do this. And what they're doing is they'll pre-record sessions and then you can host them in your LMS. So in CourseStage, you put in the pre-recorded session. That gives you the ability to control things like the background, the audio. You just have a little bit more of a controlled environment. And then you can have your presenter moderate that session live using the live chat activity in the LMS. So that's kind of a higher production value, but it's not like the presenters live communicating and answering questions dynamically with the attendees. So that's production value too. And then the last one is really like live streaming. So if you still have somebody going and presenting on stage, maybe for your September, October, November conferences this year, and you want to also offer a virtual conference, you can talk about actually live streaming those sessions so that you can still offer a virtual component to a live conference as well. Some vocab, a webinar is anything where the attendees are muted. So you guys are muted right now. You can't jump in and start talking with me. That's the format of a webinar. A virtual meeting is where attendees are not muted. So everybody in the meeting can turn on their webcams, they can unmute themselves and talk. This is how we do like happy hours and coffee breaks. Obviously all the demos I normally do are virtual meetings, so it's more of a one-to-one conversation. And then live stream is where you really have a higher production value. It's more staged. That's how we consider it. It's more staged. the core elements of a conference. So these are the things that we're going to show you today how to put into CourseStage. So how do you recreate your sessions? So the education, of course, that's the most important part. In our opinion, being an education company, and like the continuing education credits, that's what they're going to come to you for usually. But also the face-to-face event has a ton of networking, and those peer-to-peer connections that they make, that's really valuable to them. So you want to be able to recreate those networking components online. And lastly, the exhibit hall, which is likely the way that you generate a lot of revenue, or at least pay some of those costs of your conference. So we'll talk about ways that you can engage your sponsors and exhibitors in the virtual conference as well. Okay, so I'm gonna go live in the system and show you these, but we just have some tips of different types of sessions, what we recommend doing for those various session types. So we do recommend having a virtual MC, and I'll show you what that can be pre-recorded, but that virtual MC is kind of like the host of the conference that's gonna show people how to use the site. Maybe do like a live session with your virtual MC that everybody attends, to kick off the conference and kind of show them and talk about the networking and any engagement tools that you're using. Keynote sessions, we generally recommend a higher production value. You'll usually still do these like a live webinar format, but you'd probably have a nicer background, good lighting, and good audio for those keynote people that are speaking. Tracks and concurrent sessions, we generally recommend be pre-recorded. You can do concurrent live meetings through the LMS. So we'll talk about that, how you do it, and then the limitations of some of those webinar and meeting platforms. And posters are a huge component of a lot of our clients' conferences. So we'll show you some examples of how you can create a poster hall, poster pages for individual poster presenters, and then tools that people can use to communicate with those poster presenters. We'll also talk about chat, the forum, and messaging. Just to get some vocab out of the way, chat is live. So you can live chat, and you see this stream of chat messages going on. It's not something where you're going to probably go back and read like the last 2 days of conversation. It's just going to be a continuous stream of conversation. Whereas a forum is asynchronous, so it's persistent. This is like your Facebook wall or a page of conversation that's happened, and it does stay consistent on that page. And then messaging is more private. So you can use messaging, forum, and chat activities in the LMS. Networking. So we'll talk about those three different types of communication tools in the system, and how to schedule some formal networking times, and then also how to encourage informal networking throughout your virtual conference in CourseStage LMS. And then the expo hall. So we're going to talk about booths. So having a page for each exhibitor, posting contact information and overview. You can have them do like a little elevator pitch and record it and post that video on their expo page. The ways that you can let vendors schedule meetings with attendees, and then also talk about sponsor placement and some ideas that we can share for how you can increase sponsorship placement throughout the site. Okay, so let's just go over quickly the tools in Carnegie and Broadway, and then I'll go in and kind of show you the live demo of how we've set this up. And then again, feel free to ask questions. Matt, have there been any questions yet?
No questions as of yet. Great.
Okay. I think this is also being recorded, so we'll send you guys the recording. So for tools in Carnegie for education sessions, and this is, again, I've got the next one is Broadway, so we just have some things striked out for Broadway, some things striked out in Carnegie. So in Carnegie, we have the webinar integrations with GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting, Zoom Webinar, Zoom Meeting, and Adobe Connect. There are API limits for the various webinar platforms. There's different, and an API limit means that these tools only allow you to have so many people go through the integration at a given time. So for example, in GoToWebinar, you can only have 500 people hit the API at any given time. There are ways to get that increased. So we have a little GoToWebinar production guide that will kind of tell you how to contact their technical support and get your API limit increased. So that's really important. Don't try to do all of this stuff without either letting us know or asking us questions, because there are these kind of weird technical things with each of these platforms that we have experience with, and we can even just kind of give you guides. And as you know, we are giving all of our clients 10 free hours of technical support to help you use the system if you want to. So please don't hesitate with any questions you have. We hope that helps you, feel comfortable just asking us any questions and, not getting billed for it or anything like that. So the webinar
question has come in from Becky. She asked if the Zoom integration platform has been completed on Carnegie.
Yes, so we've got the Zoom meetings right now is active. The Zoom webinars is in the current sprint week. So what that means is it's in development for Zoom webinar, but Zoom meeting is live. Zoom meeting has various tiers of how many people you can have attending as well. So again, you have to look at like how many people you need. But yeah, we'll let you know as soon as the Zoom webinar is out of development. That's active in development, is starting the sprint week, which starts today. But Adobe Connect is as well, and GoTo webinar meeting. I wish they just had one platform, right? But they don't. Okay, so again, pay attention to those API limits. We'll talk about the different webinar integrations. Recorded and streaming video. This is something that's just on Carnegie. We have the Vimeo activity, and Vimeo has, again, various levels of your account. But you can, if you pre-record sessions with like GoTo or just using any kind of conferencing tool, you can get that recording and then put that in Vimeo to play in the learning management system, and we'll show you examples of how that looks. Vimeo Pro also has the live stream capability. That really only applies if you're still having an in-person event that you want to live stream. So I'm assuming in the next 2 months, nobody's having any in-person events. But come June, July, August, if you want to talk about that, let us know. And then there's all the other tools that you use in the LMS probably every day to create your courses. And those all apply in a virtual conference environment. So having downloadable resources, using PDFs, recordings, etc., using the credit activity to give credit for each session. A lot of benefits of using the LMS for your conference is you can also really easily let the system control what people get access to. So using those restrict access controls so that people can't claim credit for 2 sessions at the same time. So if you're offering CME or any kind of CE that's really highly regulated and you need to control who's getting credit for what, remember that those restrict access controls exist in the system. Networking, I'll talk about these activities. Exhibitor pages I'll show you, and then the conference home. We just have ideas. Your guys' conference home and lobby is going to look different, but we'll show you our ideas. So then the only difference in Broadway is that Broadway does not have Zoom at all, and neither does it have Vimeo. And the GoTo integration in Broadway does not allow for concurrent sessions because their API just added the capability to have multiple profiles in one integration. So like when you buy a GoTo account, you have one account, but then you can have different organizer profiles. In Carnegie, each of those profiles can be added to the LMS so that you can have 10 virtual meetings or webinars happening at the same time to have concurrent sessions going through the system. In Broadway, that functionality does not exist. So there is the option in Broadway for our Broadway clients, if you are interested, to set up Conference Now, which is just a standalone platform built on Carnegie that is streamlined just for virtual conferences. So if you're on Broadway and you need to have concurrent sessions, that is an option that's available to you. It's a much lower price point than a normal learning management system implementation, but it's not an integrated solution. So there are, obviously pros and cons there. Oops, sorry, I should have shown my slide. There you go, that's the slide. Okay, so we're not going to go to questions yet. We're going to go in the system. Well, we are going to questions. Do you guys have any questions before I start going? Becky, can you add a second profile? Yes, so you can add, we have documentation in the training session, in the training site, but Matt can follow up with you on the go-to documentation, and it teaches you how to go into your site admin and add another organizer profile. And it might be a thing where technical support just needs to turn on that ability for you to do it. So Matt will follow up with you on that, right, Matt?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. So here's our, again, this is Carnegie. It should look very familiar to our clients that are on Carnegie, and hopefully our Broadway clients that are excited to get to Carnegie at some point. You can see that this is just a Page Pro course. So I can turn editing on and show you the different pages that we've set up. So this right now is just one page, and then we're using a lot of the menus, and I'll show you how to create those. I'm just going to click through every page, and then we'll go turn editing on. So our virtual conference landing page, different activities and blocks that we're using to let people communicate with each other. If I click on day one, this is an example. If you have less than like 15 sessions a day, you can do an approach like this where everything's on that page and you use graphics and just kind of help guide your users for each time block as far as what's available. If you have more than like 50 sessions on any given day, or more than 15, like a lot of clients have 50 or more, then we've seen this be successful where you create a menu, another menu for each time block. So then if I click 9 to 12, it'll populate the sessions in that time block. The expo hall, again, you can do something like this where you've got your Page Pro page, and then you can break out the different sponsor levels. We'll go into editing this and I'll show you how that's created. Each of these, I'll open this in a new tab, but this also has exhibitor pages. So a page for each exhibitor where you can list descriptions, they can connect with you, schedule meetings, they might post a little demo or introductory video, have a discussion forum for people to ask that vendor questions. If you want to get really fancy, you can award badges based on the amount of post to discussion forums across the conference. So that's something you could do to encourage collaboration. Poster hall is very similar setup wise as to an expo hall. So you just have your poster sessions, you can group them if you have different types of posters, and then have a poster page for each poster. You can put their bio, actually put the poster there in a PDF format. If they wanted to do a little demo of their poster presentation, you might have just 1-minute videos on these pages, and then again, a discussion forum. Okay, so let's go back to the lobby and turn editing on. So this is, again, the format of this course type is a Page Pro course format. If you don't know how to do that, I'll show you. So let me go into the settings of the course. You can see I've got just a course name. Under the course format here, you click format and you use Page Pro. The default when you create a new course from scratch without using a template, which you should always use a template, but if you're not, the default will always be topics. So I would just remind you to look at that because it will default to topics, and then you have to click Page Pro. If you accidentally make a topics course, or you can use topics for this too if you want to use topics, you can always go back and switch the format to Page Pro. All of your activities that you already built in that course will stay in the course, but they won't be visible on the screen. So you don't lose them. It just isn't automatically going to put them on pages. So then you have to go to add and put your existing activities onto your pages if you already made them in topics and you're switching it to a Page Pro format. Okay, so a little guide on how to for Page Pro. What you're doing here is creating pages of content So at the top here, we have add. This is how you're going to add new pages, how you're going to add activities to pages, and how you're going to add blocks in a Page Pro course. Also the menu. So we're going to use a lot of menus in our conference course. Then you can also manage your page settings. This is where you're going to go to change the name of your pages. So when you first create a Page Pro course, the first page will always say default page. So the first thing I do, because I'm OCD, is go change that page name to call it like my course overview page, or in this example, it's my conference lobby page. You can also manage all pages. I use this a lot because I don't like the back and next button. So this is where you can go. Then you can see all the pages in your Page Pro course, and then you can say for navigation if I want to turn those on or off. So I just have no navigation on all my pages. That doesn't mean I have no navigation. I just am using a different format of navigation besides the back and next buttons. Okay. Let's see. This is a drop-down select that's showing you a list of all of your pages in your course. You can see that we have child pages here. So we'll get into that when we get to day 2. I'll show you how we created those child pages. Any questions yet? No? Okay.
No questions.
So first thing that we have on the page is our conference navigation. So let's talk about menus, because these are really important. So if you go to manage and manage all menus, you can create a new menu, and you can also edit the other menus that you have. So if we just wanted to add a new menu, we can give it a name. And then there's different displays of menus. The one that I was showing is the horizontal navigation. There's also a tree navigation, which actually looks like the Broadway navigation structure. And then the drop-down navigation looks like what I'm in right now, where you've got this little selector, you click on it, and then it drops the pages down. So I used the horizontal navigation because I like how the buttons look. You can also, use whichever one you like. So I would just set up a test of each of them and see which one you visually like the most. You can click to display the name of the navigation block. That's how, like, this says conference navigation. That's the name of the block. Or you can turn that off. If you're going to use multiple menus, I would recommend displaying the name of each menu so people know what that menu is for. And I don't really know what this uses tabs thing does, but I don't know, sometimes I click in, sometimes I don't, and I don't feel like I know exactly what it changes. So if anybody knows, feel free to chat that in and let me know. Okay, so now we have our new menu. It's just going to add it to your manage menu page. So then what you have to go in for your new menu is click choose and manage the links. So this is where you're actually selecting what is going to show up in that new menu. So you can add new links to, if you click Page Pro, that's going to show you all of your pages that you've made. So you do have to make your pages before you make your menu. But you can also link just straight to activities. So for example, if you wanted a menu to be used for listing all of your different sessions, and each of your sessions is a subcourse, then you might have a menu with all of the sessions being linked to the subcourse activities. That way they don't have to go to another page and then click on the activity link. So you can kind of cut all of that out of it. You can also link directly to a URL. So for example, our live chat activity has this like middle ground page that you join before you click to open up the chat. If you want to skip that page, you would grab the URL of the actual live chat pop-up box and put that in this URL, so that when they click this button, it just opens up the live chat box. Tricky. Okay. So that's a little overview of navigation. So it's not going to automatically add that menu you created anywhere. Then you go in and you say add existing menu. So now that you've built a menu, I can put that menu on my page. There's nothing in the menu, but I displayed the name, so it's showing the name. I'm going to delete it. Okay. Any questions? We're good?
We are good.
All right, so then on our conference page, I've also got just like a little demo video. This is just using an HTML block. A lot of this conference is set up using HTML blocks. You can also embed, so if you have like a web page that already has a lot of your conference information on it, I've seen people embed different information from different places. So that's another thing that you should be aware of, or just copy and paste it into an HTML block so that you have the information on your conference lobby page. A lot of times the lobby will also have like, the technical support. So how are people supposed to reach out to you if they're having any issues? There's a couple different formats. You might just have like a live chat activity that is just for one of your staff members to be on and be responding to any chats that come in on technical support. That's one way to do it. The biggest challenge with associations doing live or virtual conferences has been a lot of questions around how do we support our users in the system. And a lot of times your association isn't set up with a phone system like ours that, routes calls to everybody's different cell phones, and you guys are all remote right now. So sometimes a phone number isn't the best option unless you have the ability to route that phone number around. But there are other ways to do it. So I would use live chat if you have the ability to do that, and then have a staff member staffing that live chat in the system. We have a thank you. So this is an HTML block showing how you can thank your sponsors. And then I have this pop-up live chat box. This is using the chat activity. So if I go in and edit the settings here, you can see it's just a chat activity. And then I have a name of the chat room. You can, in the chat activity, this is something you should look at, but you can set specific times where there's going to be a live chat. You can also have it repeat sessions. So if you want it to be at the same time every day, so from 8 to 9 a.m., we're going to have a live chat every morning, and then you join the same link every time. Then you can also change the settings for when sessions are saved, and if everyone can view past chats if they joined or not. Okay, what else is on here? I really like this block. This is the online users block. So in order to add these blocks and activities to this page, again, you would go to add block or add activity. So let's just look at that block list, and I'll show you the ones that I've been using. When you add a block, you can select up here where you want it to go to, just like makes it a little bit quicker instead of dragging it after the fact. So if I want it to go in the right sidebar, let's see, I would probably say you might use the calendar if you have any due dates in your conference, or if you want to set up site-wide events, then you could use the calendar block, and it will show people all of the events you have in the conference. It gets a little bit messy if you're trying to put like your whole agenda into site-wide events in the calendar. But you could play with that and see how you feel about doing like site-wide events for keynote sessions starting soon. Then people will get notifications in the system. So a lot of benefits to using that. Let's see, I would use the messages block. You could use that so people could message each other. The logged in user is telling just who is logged in. So I wouldn't use that one. That's not going to show you like a list of everybody logged in. It's the online users block, which I already have it on this page. That's not letting me add again. You can also have a block of tags. So I don't know if that would be super helpful. Usually that's more on like your LMS homepage. Upcoming events, again, if you're using the site-wide activity. And recent activity is going to pull any like new discussion posts that get posted. It will say like, oh, somebody posted to this discussion forum. So if you're using discussion forums throughout your conference, you might decide to add this recent activity block. And if you as an admin go in and post like anything that you want to announce to everybody, it would show up in that recent activity block on the right-hand side.
A question has come in from Becky.
Yeah.
Could you explain the difference between the online users and the messages in the blocks?
Sure, let's check. So I've got my online users block. I can't message myself, so it's not showing up. If anybody wants to join my course, feel free. Let me add the messages block. See, I didn't click where I wanted it to go. Okay, so this is going to show you if you have any, you as a user have any new messages. So if anybody sent you a new message, and then it'll take you directly to your messages. So if I click on this, this will show all my messages in the system. The difference between that is it's not showing you like the people, all the people in the course. It's just showing you if anybody has reached out to you. Whereas online users will be a list of all of the people. And then if somebody else joins this course right now as a student user, like Matt, with your demo user you created, then he'll show up here and I can just click a little message bubble that I can message him directly. Okay. So let's go to day one. So day one, these are all separate HTML blocks with images in them. So that's how you, in a Page Pro course, you can delineate your pages by adding new blocks. If you add an activity right on this page, it will also delineate it. Of course, your theme affects what the delineation looks like, because when you decided your theme, you picked what those blocks look like. So this is going to look different on everybody's site, but each is going to have its own separate space on the page. So that's a nice way to be able to delineate things into time blocks like I did here. Yeah, Erico. Oh, yeah, sorry. Erico asks, is the messages the same as the notification? So if somebody gets a message, it'll actually show up in this toggle messages menu. Notifications are, I don't think messages will show up in notifications. Notifications are more like you have this due, or like your instructor sent something to you. The messages will show up in this bubble up here on the right, the chat bubble. Yeah, okay. So I'll just show you what this is set up like. Let's go to the one with 2 of them. So if I can configure this block, again, this is just using an image that's then linked, and it's linked to, if you look at this URL, this is the actual Zoom activity that I have set up. So if I clicked on it as a user, it's going to take me right to that page where I can launch the Zoom activity. So they don't have to go to another page. They're just going to get taken right to that session. So then they wait here. Once the Zoom meeting is going to start, they can enter into it. So if they go back to the course, if you have bookmarking turned on in your course, it'll take them back to the page that they were on, which is really nice because we're on the same day. Now we can go into the next session. So again, this kind of setup I would use in a nice visual format if you have less than 15 sessions on a page. Again, if you have a bunch of them, you want to break it out a little bit more. I'll go to day 2 and show you that example. So in this example, I've got an HTML block in between my 2 navigation blocks. So these are 2 menus. The second menu has links to different pages for different time blocks now. So each of these time blocks is an actual page. So now if I go look at my pages, I can see that from 9 to 12, this is a name of a page. So each of these is a page, and those pages are broken out by time. And then on each page, I have the sessions for that time block. So if I were to click 12 to 1, mine are the same. So yours would obviously be different, but I have my sessions. And again, you could still do the graphic that then links into this activity type. So if you wanted this to be more visual, you could easily do that. So you could make it look like day 1 and then just break it up into different sessions. That works if you don't have any conditional release needs. So why? Because when you set up any access restrictions using conditional release, the system will automatically tell users why they can't access something yet. And so if you have that on and you're using a graphic, they aren't seeing this activity link in the system, so they won't be able to see those access restrictions unless you put like some actual HTML text in there telling them why. Okay, Expo Hall real quick. I want to give you guys time to ask questions. So again, this is set up using different HTML blocks. In any HTML block, you can have different types of media. So this example just has a video. Again, if you're using videos and you're in Carnegie, you can link to that URL in Vimeo. So you don't have to actually upload it to your site. You would just link to the Vimeo URL and it would play right on the page. So again, you can do different things like make a table in that HTML block. So you have different rows of sponsors. And then let's link out to look at an exhibitor page. So this exhibitor page has an HTML block with an image, an HTML block with a description. This is where you're linking out to their website. And again, you're just adding multiple blocks so that you can get the delineation in there. If you wanted to, you could have everything in one block. You don't necessarily need that. But every time you add a new block, you get this title text that you can use or turn off. Okay, what else? I think that's enough for now. Let's go to anybody asking any questions that you have about how to set this up in your LMS. Becky, so you notice that Zoom has an LTI Pro component available in their marketplace. Could that be used to link Zoom with the external tool activity? That's a good question. I don't know if LTI gets you around single sign-on. So like our integration is built so that users don't have to create a Zoom account or like register using your link because we have the single sign-on integration. So maybe it does. That's something that can be tested for sure. So if you end up testing that, let us know. I haven't had any other clients ask that, but it's something that we could potentially look into. Matt, if you want to save that.
Yes.
Okay, great. Good question, Becky. Shannon asks. Yeah, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Shannon asks, can you show us what an educational session would look like?
Yeah. So there's, again, the different production levels for education activities. Again, I'm an admin and I have editing on. So this is the example where production level 1, where the user is going to go into a Zoom or GoToMeeting using our integration with those tools. So here they would click on the Join Now button before the webinar starts and go into the actual session in either Zoom or GoTo. So that's production level 1. Production level 2 is where you're actually pre-recording sessions. Let me turn editing off so you can see what this looks like. Not what I wanted you to do. Okay. So on production level 2, if you're pre-recording your sessions, you would post the session right in the system, and then you would moderate a live chat on the right. So you can either have that pop up into a new chat box. So here again, this is what I was saying. You can use this chat URL from the live chat activity in CourseStage, or you can embed that right into the page like you see on the right. So you can have people chat live while the session's happening, and that's production level 2, where you're pre-recording sessions.
Question from Becky, is there a way to embed GoToWebinar and Zoom meeting within the page?
No, because those tools don't let you do, you have to have a different software to join it. And I don't think the web version would let you do that. I haven't tested that. If you join a GoTo on the web version, but then you'd have to communicate to all of your attendees and not to join to join via the web browser. So yeah, we've tested quite a few different ways, and to have the right integration where users don't have to actually register separately, so the course registers them in the integration, they have to open up into the system.
Question from Erica, with exhibitors, can you link to directly message the exhibitors?
Yes, yeah, you can do that. So if you look at having the online user block or going right into the expo hall, you could have a direct message link on their exhibitor page. And since we're running close on time, I'll follow up with you on how exactly to do that. each kind of message, like person in their profile has a message, that message board, and that's where you can link them to in order to have them directly message that person specifically.
Question from Becky. What is the limit for Zoom meetings?
The limit. I'm going to refer you to Zoom's website, and they have different levels of so it depends on what you buy, what your license allows with Zoom. There's not a limit like in CourseStage that controls how many people you can have it. It depends on your license with Zoom. So you've got to look into what your account is and if you need to increase your account with Zoom or not.
What does the CE claiming process look like from Shannon?
Shannon, are you a client that's using the system set up in a specific way?
She is.
Okay, so are you using Broadway or Carnegie?
She is on Carnegie.
Okay, so depending on how you have it set up in your site, a lot of times, and I can, yeah, it's going to be different in your site. I can show you, like in this example, what I would do is add a credit activity. So you would turn editing on and add an activity, and then you would select the credit activity. So credit can either be dynamically awarded, or you can have them self-select what type of credit they want. So if your organization offers multiple different types of credit, like CNE and CME for one course, you might have a credit activity that has both offerings, and then they self-select what they want. Or you have the credit automatically award. So you'd have to have a credit activity set up, and then your certificate activity. And then what I would do is lock. So let's just, well, a certificate, I have to have an actual background, but cert, we'll just have it automatically generate and use the default, something silly. Okay, so with the certificate, then it'll show the certificate activity here. I had it automatically generate, so you can actually embed these right onto the page in Carnegie now, where it's going to just show, and again, this will be your certificate background for clients whenever you design during implementation, and then you pull in those dynamic fields for the user. So then you might turn on access restrictions so that they don't get the certificate awarded until they do something. So likely that's going to be an evaluation, maybe a post-test, depends on what your requirements are for whatever type of accreditation you have. And then it would display right here. You might not have it display right on the page if you don't want to. It can just be a link that then downloads for them. And again, as you guys know, that will then be available in their transcript at any time. We have a couple minutes left if anybody has any other questions. No, that would be it.
While there's a little lull in the questions, something just to bring up to everybody. We want to make sure to communicate with us and talk with you guys about any virtual meetings you are scheduling. So if you guys are looking, planning, exploring the options for hosting, we want to have that conversation before so we can have extra attention from our team on those days and make sure that everything runs smoothly. So please communicate with me. If you are planning or have additional questions, I'm happy to hop on a call, answer via email, or really whatever we need to do to make sure everything runs smoothly. So
yeah, and so that you guys all know, CourseStage is hosted in a very robust format. So the way that we have it set up at AWS, the site's going to auto scale depending on how many users you have. So you don't need us to really do anything from an IT perspective. It's all set up to auto scale. But letting us know, we can do that ahead of time, just add the servers. It doesn't cost us anything additional. It's just a part of your hosting that you already pay for. So if you have any concerns about it, which there's a lot of anxiety around running virtual conferences right now, so we totally understand. We can take some steps preemptively. So if you let us know, we can preemptively take some steps on our side just to make sure and give you the ability to do that.
Question came in from Erico. How would you set up a whole conference-wide continuing education where users can claim only those sessions where they attended?
Where users can claim only those sessions they attended. Yep. So that would be creating all of these sessions. So if you have credit claiming happening on a per session basis, then each of your sessions, instead of like in this example where I have a session being just a link to the actual education, your session would probably be a sub course. So then each of your sessions has a sub course with the education component, which is this activity, plus the credit claim component, so maybe an evaluation and then the credit claim and the certificate. So each of your sessions will be a sub course, and then you would lay out these links by adding those activities using the sub course activity right here to link to all of your sessions, where a user can claim only those sessions they attended. So then what we can do is you can lock the sub courses. So you would use the restrict access control on the sub courses so that they can only enter that session if they haven't claimed credit in one of the others. So that lets them still like go between sessions if they want to, but then they can only claim credit in one session. So it's actually a restriction based on them claiming credit in another session during that time block. So you can set that up using those restrict access controls in the system. And I'll just show you where those are really quick. So in any activity you have in the site, this is the restrict access control, and you can add that restriction. So you might say, restrict access to this credit activity if they completed this credit activity. So you'd be selecting or the sub course, the other sub course for the other session. So say they claimed credit in session A and session B happened at the same time. So we'd restrict session B credit claim activity to so they can't get that credit in session B if they've already claimed the credit in session A. And you have to have course completion set up. So if they claim credit in session A, then that would complete that course. So that the sub course is marked complete, so that then activity completion would be locked based on that sub course. And anytime you are setting this up, it's only going to show the activities that you already have set up in your course. So you want to set everything up first and then go into your access restrictions to start adding them, because then you'll have them available to you here. And it's going to show you the name that you give it. So it's not going to say this is a quiz activity if you give the quiz a name of evaluation. So your naming of the different activities are what's going to show up here. Okay, good question.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody have any other questions before we sign off?
If there are some more individual, I guess, personal questions per association, reach out to me. We can schedule another call outside. We can even bring in some technical experts for those specific questions as well. We don't want to limit using the system for any of your in-person events or moving them to virtually. So we're more than happy to help out with, and hopefully you guys are excited to get started and this helps a little bit.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.